As you said, truth has a very specific vibration. Can you say a little bit more about what that feels like,
Sure.
subjectively?
The greatest way to do that perhaps would be to give an example. I'll just do a little bit of a read on you. Sure. Well, just give me a moment though, because I always choose to do what serves the highest good. And let me just check in with that. So I choose to serve the highest good, and I choose to serve CK and his listeners. And in doing so, I allow a symbol to come that represents what I need to know. So by simply drawing a circle on the table and defining that circle as having insight in it. And I just imaginatively, like a child, I just jump into this circle and just allow a symbol to come. Does it serve the highest good? And what's interesting, that straight out of the blue, I get the image of old school cartoons, the Warner Brothers cartoons, and the Wile E. Coyote lighting the fuse on the TNT boxes and that exploding. Now, that's the symbolism I got. Normally, I wouldn't tell people about the symbol that I get. I just go straight into what that means about this question. Does it serve the highest good?
Sure.
Is that what it means is this is a wonderful explosion of learning. That's not a bad thing. The explosion is not a bad thing. It might end up with black powder on the face, but it's creating laughter for millions of people, or it's creating joy for millions of people. See, you make no assumptions. You just go, what's obvious about that symbol? That symbol is, it makes me laugh and I love it. And that whole idea that this is, it's going to go off and it's going to have a ripple effect beyond you and I talking about shit. Because a lot of people out there just talking about stuff instead of experiencing it. So it does serve the highest good. So that's an example of using intuition. So another way I could do that is by, now that I know that it serves the highest good, and if it's still okay with you, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
I could now read you. And how I'm going to do that is I'm just going to observe you. So just give me a moment. So I choose to serve, and I choose to gain insight into CK. And how I'm doing that is I'm choosing to actually just to notice 3 things about your physiology that I can see in this image in front of me. And so the first thing that jumps out is how clinical the black is against your skin. The black of your shirt. It's literally like black and white. It is the sharpest defined line on this screen that just pops out at me. And what's obvious about that, and again, an important part about intuition, is you get a symbol, and then without even knowing, you just make it up. You go, and then what's obvious about that is how clinical you are, how precise you are in your knowledge of it's black or it's white. The gray area you don't deal very well with. And as I'm saying that, I notice the bilateral difference in your face between your left eye and your right eye. If I hold up and just look at half of your face as opposed to the other half, they are distinctly different, which they are for most people. But it never came to my attention until I started talking about how black and white things are for you. There's the analytics of you. You are so incredibly sharp and analytical and being able to nail stuff from the mental, but at the cost of the right side of your brain, the left side of your body, the creative aspect to it. So you can be too smart, as I said last time, too smart for your own good, in that you'll go into the dissection of what it is that you get, as opposed to being in the unknown. I like to say the unknown is actually where it's at. Smart is good. As you said before, the mind is a fantastic slave to the body as opposed to the other way around. Because when the body's the slave to the mind, it tends to just go around and around in circles, creating the same stuff over and over again. It's this concept that we have, 4 billion bits of information in front of us, but we can only focus on about 2,000 things at the same time, they say. But the problem is that we always look for the same 2,000 bits of information to validate our experience. And for you, it's your need to know. So even just as I say that, what's obvious to me is how your shirt line comes down to a very specific point that's pointing at noble warrior. When you start going into intuition, there's just all this information available because I've opened up the 4 billion bits of information there because I'm an open palette to it. As opposed to, what do I think of CK? I could observe this and body language and NLP. All that shit is a waste of time unless you understand the fundamental principle that we are energetic beings having a human experience that express more energetically than we can ever do. So NLP and reading people's body language is like intensely trying to put a language. This is this and this is. It's like dream interpretation. Like, what's obvious about the dream? Because it's different for everyone. Water means different things for different people. Is it colloquially in Freudian psychology, Jungian psychology, underlying something? Usually, yes. But the specificity of that could be missed because you're not going to what that means about that person. But intuitively, I can look at you and go, wow, I could go way deep with this and do a 3-hour read on you and go into, as a child, what formed this and how that turns up in business and your personal life and your relationship, how it affects you. We go into that deeper and deeper and deeper. In this exercise of showing people intuition, it's a case of you just need to get a symbol, what's obvious, and then you just run with that and you make it up and you start talking. I ask people stuff about intuition. They get a symbol like, oh, I got an elephant and it's got a pink tutu. What does that mean? And they ask me, I'm like, dude, it doesn't mean anything to me. It's your symbol. You have to go into it and you just start talking, but they can't talk. It's what I get is trust yourself. That's the key. Just be a child in innocence. Make it up as you go along. Dive deep, and there's so much information there. So I hope that served you.